It's really interesting. When I was a young man and trying to get jobs writing movies, and I would have to go into an office and pitch the movie with a group of people, and all of whom had my life in their hands. I often had no idea what I was going to say until I was in the parking lot, and sometimes not even then. And I would go into the office and they'd always offer me tea, and I would always go, "Thank you." And I would very quietly sip the tea and put it down, centering myself. I would look at everybody in the room, so I made a connection, and then I just trusted. And I walked out of most of these rooms with jobs, careers that made my life. And it had to do with not knowing, but trusting, just deep trusting. I use that as a preliminary to the topic that is coming up in my head, which is, what do you do when the world's falling apart? Now, you may not want to hear about that, and you may not even agree with me, which is fine, and it may not be true. The world may not be falling apart. But there is, I think, a strong sense that things are not what they were, that they're out of control, that there's some chaos, that clearly there's division, there's elements of upheaval that are going on around us. And when you get to my age, excuse me, and it's a really interesting dynamic, having your body in mind and the world all going at the same time makes you kind of question, who are we? What is this thing that we're all caught in? And what happens when the world starts to move into chaotic space at the same time your mind and body go into chaotic space? What do you do? Well, it's a good question. And we don't have a society that has addressed that issue very well. And, you all know my story. Somewhere in the early days, there was a big overdose of LSD, which exploded the reality of this world into kind of molecular, tiny nothingness, and gave me something much bigger as a vision. And that vision has permeated my life, and it comes and goes. I mean, it's not like I don't know it's there, but I do know that I live in the same world as everybody else. And I do know that, I pick up the newspaper, or God forbid, we turn on the news at night, which I don't enjoy, but my wife does. And we get a picture of stuff that's going on. And then I get calls from friends and people who are actually suffering in this world that we're in. And I will tell you, and you can all switch off as soon as you hear this, I also go through all of these sort of conundrums inside, this fear and discomfort and anxiety about what exactly, how do I respond to the loss of so much paradisical awareness that I have had in much of my life. And the technique is not anything that you haven't heard, those of you who've been in my class or who have listened to these talks. And it goes back to the Rudy-esque specific teaching of do the work. And do the work is find your way into a place of stillness and contentment, or at least neutral quietude, where you can observe all of what's going on around you without reacting, without going into fear zone and despair and grief and all of that. Or if that goes on, because it's a human experience, accept it. Rudy's key teaching is surrender, which is very much like acceptance. Acceptance goes, what can I do? What can I do in the larger scheme of things, in a world in collapse, in a body in disintegration, in a mind that's engaging all that? What exactly do I do on a day-to-day basis? Now, yes, this may sound like a very negative subject, but I think it's impacting a lot of people right now. And the great gift of meeting someone like a Rudy in this world, which doesn't happen often, but there are teachers in the world, is to go somewhere where people will remind you, shut up, sit still, and do the work. Go inside, take that breath, and discover when you go into your heart chakra, the center in your chest, and you breathe into it, something expands, something happens. And if you ask for help to let go, to surrender, which is at the key of the Rudy teaching, asking for help is a really important ingredient, because who are you asking? Who are you talking to? Just your brain, your mind, an abstraction of the world around you? The idea of asking for help, which is biblical, meaning ask and ye shall receive. It's not just Rudy. There is a real place within each of us that responds. It sometimes responds instantly, and sometimes it takes time to respond. And sometimes you've got to give it that time, because wanting instantaneous reaction is, in a way, a mind event, saying, give it to me, I need it now, I need it now. And that's a problem, because the mind, as I talked about last week, is the slayer of the soul. It gets in the way all the time. It has expectations, it has demands, it has punishments, it has all of these strange things. And so asking for help to surrender is surrender the noise of that, feel this entry point inside yourself that is actually available, and it is in the heart. And if you can go deeper yet, because Rudy has a process of going into the navel chakra, which is the essence of intuitive knowing, it's empowerment. If you can get down there, you get the power with empowerment to go, I have an ability to give myself over to the power itself. Part of what happens over years of practice and meditation and continual effort, rather than occasional effort, which is problematic, but a continual effort gives you the muscle capacity to go into the empowered state and have it go, yes, I accept even this, even this. And it is really important, because when the world is falling around, apart, all around you, you can't really go to the world and ask for it to take care of you, because it's blowing up. When you are feeling your body falling apart and all of the aches and pains and fears that go along with that, the body itself is not a refuge. The only thing that will be provided in Western society as a refuge for you is, pills, the zombie pills. There are alcohol treatments that will, deaden you to everything. But in an existential sense, in an ultimate sense, no, they won't deaden you to anything. They will just obscure and distract, because ultimately, in the reality of human existence, this outer force, human life, the world, our body, goes away, and not easily, because we are very attached people holding on to the world, holding on to our body, and fearing, of course, it's human, the loss, because we don't know what comes next, and we don't trust it, and we're afraid of it. The incredible thing about really deep spiritual work is that it begins to introduce you to the what next. And being introduced to the what next is probably the greatest of all spiritual gifts. And it may not be that you exactly get to live in that space, although some people do and talk about it as blissful and beautiful and non-personal, impersonal, non-me, something greater, which is all wonderful. And some people claim to live there even while they're in the world. And I, at one point, made that claim, but discovered it was a more temporary kind of arrival. But on the other hand, it was a real insight, a real glimpse into what I believe is ahead for all of us. And my sense is that when we allow this world to disintegrate and we allow our bodies to go, and we don't have a lot of choice in the end, what we meet is, I'm going to say this in a funny way, something very familiar, ourselves. We meet ourselves. And it's got a great name, God, Buddha, Nirvana, Samadhi. There's a lot of words to express it. But my guess is, again, I'm talking about my own experience, and it may not be the whole human experience, although I imagine it is. We meet this thing, we go, oh, you. Oh, and you know this thing. It's vast, it's infinite, and it's also wildly personal. It absolutely knows and loves you. But there remains, before that experience of immersion in that love, a kind of realm of self-judgment. Self-judgment generally says, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of this love. I'm not worthy of this space. I'm not worthy of owning this self. And the self absolutely disagrees with that, but your mind has to go on a journey to arrive at acceptance. It has to go on a journey to say yes to the inevitable. And all I can tell you is, if you start that journey at the moment of death, it's intense. It's very late in the game. I've said this probably a million times, but if you can devote your whatever years you have left to learning how to open and accept and allow yourself to embrace and be embraced by this much greater, infinite, and I think loving space, then when the time comes to hand yourself over to it, first, there's not a lot of person to hand over, and two, it's like, and you go. So there's value in the practice of handing yourself over, of letting yourself go, of giving yourself over to the infinite, which just happens to be all around you right now, everywhere, all around you. It's expressing itself, this infinite, vast, creative force in this manifested world, which happens to include your mind and your body and your physicality, and it allows you to witness this manifested amazement, if you will, materially, experientially, for a limited period of time. And you're here. So the thing you're looking for is not outside this, it's this. This is it. This is it. And if your mind is telling you it's not enough, I don't like it, it should be like that, I would have rather had this, why didn't I get this when I was younger, somebody messed me up back when, if you're going through all of this kind of noise in your head, this is not appealing. It's not like where you want to be. But if you can quiet down that syndrome of noise in your head, in your mind, by taking a breath and asking for help to let go of all of that, and it starts to dissipate, you get to find these amazing things going on in your life. I don't know if you're aware that during the course of this class, the sun has come out, and many, many times. And they've gone away and come back, gone away and come back. Now it's out. I feel it, and I feel it going like that, just warming me, because it's freezing out, but the sun is warming me. It comes and then it goes. Because it goes, when it comes, I get this experience of affirmation, and I love it. When it's cold, I turn on the fireplace, or I wear a warm suit, a shirt. I have a reaction to the beauty and the lack of beauty that the world has I have a way of, and I'm not saying I, Bruce, I mean, all of us have a way of interacting with the manifested, amazing, awesome reality that we are in. And if you don't see it in those terms, it's because you're not looking and because your mind is lost. Your heart is closed, your gut's not alive. So you've got to get that working. You have to get it working, or at the very end of life, in what the Tibetans call the bardo state, you will have this indeterminate, timeless experience of figuring it all out. And I've been there. I know what I'm talking about. It ain't easy. And when the word hell comes up, there's a reason for that. That's kind of what you see, a very dark place that's going to take you apart in a way that you had an opportunity to free yourself of, to let go of while you were in your body and in your mind. You have that opportunity even now to let go. But if you don't practice and you don't do it, the opportunity will come, I think, at the very end. Now, maybe some people are right in thinking blackout, done, forever, gone. But I look at this manifested reality in a way that is so not dismissible and not something that happens by chance and just goes away. It's too extraordinary. It comes from something that is vibrant and it goes deep. And the deeper I go into my own psyche, if you will, my own soul, the more I find my way to, quote, it. It. You can name it. You can look at it as a strange, obscure otherness, or you may experience it as profound self, the very source of you. It's not other at all. It is who you are and who you have been from the beginning. And I've been fortunate in this lifetime to have what I call non-Bruce moments where I am that. I am that. And I know that I am that. But I also find that, when the world's disintegrating around you and your body is disintegrating and everything is falling away, there is a real human experience that comes up called fear, called not me, God. It's just all this personal stuff, and there's suffering. There's true suffering, and human beings go through that. What's the best thing to do with suffering? Couple of things. One is go deep and find a place that goes, okay, just okay, because what can you do? You can be like the Ukrainians that still go dancing and still go to concerts. The bombs are bursting, but they're going out there. They're in life. They're in life. We can still be in life. You can also, if you're lucky enough, go to your partner and hug and realize how lucky you are to have love. If you don't have a partner, try to love yourself, or in the simplest version, go out in the world and do nice things. Be kind. Do something that allows you to interact with the world in a way that touches others. And that will have a way of touching you. And you will experience life as an occasional gift. I'd like to say it's constant, and it is constant, but mostly most of us feel it as an occasional thing, or this arising thing, or what I call grace notes, these grace notes of being. And they are very beautiful, and they make it worthwhile, and they come from all over the place, really all over the place. Blanche and I were walking through Rhinebeck about a month or so ago, and there's a gallery which we had not been in, and we walked in the gallery, and there was a woman sitting there who happened to be the grandmother of one of my granddaughter Talia's classmates. And I said, how do you get in the gallery? She said, well, it's a cooperative, and if you apply, sometimes there are openings and maybe you'll get in. And I went, oh, I had just stumbled into this place. And so I applied, and the next thing I know, there was an opening, and the next thing I know, I was the one who was accepted to be part of the gallery show. And then I got a call last Saturday saying, we need your work hung by Monday. And I went, what? I didn't know what to do with that. And I have my photographs, and I had a whole bunch of recent ones that I printed that were on my desktop, and I have frames downstairs. And Blanche and I got together and put everything in frames and went to the gallery and had, a wall space of 5 by 7, which would take, turned out 9 pictures, and we put them on the wall. And then and I suddenly was in a gallery. And then the next thing I know, they had an opening not for another person in the gallery this past weekend, and I invited my children, my son Josh and Evan, and my grandchildren to come to the opening, and they did last night. And these are peak moments, but out of nothing happening, stepping into that gallery, asking a question, having the connection of my granddaughter and the woman running the gallery at that moment. This is where you go in and you sit. It's a cooperative thing. So Blanche and I, or me, has to sit there 3 hours twice a month, and Blanche has offered to come with me because you have to be able to, if people buy anything, you have to be able to take credit cards, and I'm not very good at that. But so we're going to be there twice a month. But the grandchildren coming last night and just standing with me, I don't care if I ever sell one thing, ever. I have no desire. But I liked the gift of having these works that are, in a way, beautiful as part of other people's beauty. The collective sharing, the reception, the coming out of nowhere, because this was not on the list of things that I was pursuing. It just came out of a moment. This is kind of how life works. There is an arising of the unexpected, but for it to arise, one, you still have to be here and alive. You have to be open. You have to be a bit inquisitive, and you have to say, please help me to surrender. And surrender often means things arrive. Because you've surrendered, something's arrived. If you have closed the door in your life and blocked it out with your mind and your heart, hard for stuff to get through. And you become the obstacle to your own joy, your own bliss, your own whatever. If the bombs are dropping, you can stay in your basement and hide. And I totally understand that, and very likely would be one of those people. But you can also go to the dance. You can go out there and dance. Whatever that shift is inside you, whatever that quality of being is that accepts mortality, that accepts chaos, that accepts the end of the world as we know it, let's dance. Let's try to be joyous. Let's try to be open to whatever comes. And maybe the world will surprise us. It will just keep doing what it does and keep going, and everything will be fine. And the chaos will be just a mind event or a newspaper event or CNN or Fox News event. And where everything will be just peaches and roses. But if it's not, your reaction to that is your interaction with the powers that be, and you can choose what that is. And if you choose to be open, if you choose to work to open, if you choose to be available to the end of the world, you will discover that, first of all things end, and that there is something to greet you when that ending comes. You'll be introduced to that quietly if you go inside. You'll be introduced. The door will open. Knock and ye shall receive. Is that what the word is? Knock and the door shall be opened. Seek it, and ye shall find. Ask and ye shall receive. Those are the keys. Those are the keys to how you get through day to day. So, having said all that, and having said it for what may now be the billionth time, and you've all heard it before, the only takeaway is do the work. Find persistence, consistency, because intermittent work produces intermittent results. I need a few practical things that I need to talk about. Oh, Dale, welcome. I'm seeing you. I see you get online. Congratulations. It's great. A few things. One, Blanche and I are going to Manassas, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. this coming week to help my sister-in-law move into something approaching assisted living, not quite, but to offer our physical help and visit my son and his girlfriend Burju. And there will be no class next Sunday. The following Sunday will be right around Rudy's birthday, which often we celebrate just with cake and blowing out candles. So I'll do that class here, which means we're going to miss a California class. I also am rearranging the schedule a little bit because on the, I don't have the dates, the 21st of February is Rudy's Samadhi Day. This is the 50th anniversary of Rudy's passing, which is in a way hard to imagine. 50 years has gone by since he died. And in LA in the old days and at San Rafael, I would have a kind of a party, a dinner party, and we would all come and we would watch this amazing movie that Bob Sink made of Rudy. And then we would all eat food Rudy loved. This year here upstate, where still COVID impacts us, I'm still going to open the house up on that Sunday to a special day of Rudy Samadhi celebration. And one thing I would like to do, if you're open to it, is give everyone or anyone an opportunity who wants it to sit where I am and just talk for a few minutes, if you will, about Rudy or about your interaction with Rudy. You don't have to, but it will all be on this Zoom talk, and it will be available for other people to hear. So if you want to be part of that, that's the plan. And a few weeks after that is my 80th birthday, and I don't really want a party. I don't love parties, and I'm hoping maybe just to go with my family out to dinner. But the Sunday of that, anyone who wants to come here will have cake, like on Rudy's birthday. So I will announce that, so it becomes, because it's an 80th birthday, maybe making it a little bit something else. But if I'm just throwing that out into the atmosphere. And we'll do the same for Blanche in September, because she'll be 80, and it feels like a tipping point of sorts. So those are just things to maybe put on your calendar. Interestingly, that weekend is also the beginning of daylight savings times and the Oscars. So it'll be a big day. And lastly, I want to say, Bob Sink, who most of you know or maybe remember, has made all of these amazing videos of Rudy. The fact that we have the movie, although at one point I shot the movie with other people and Bo helped to make the movie, Bob put the movie together. And there are all sorts of memories of Rudy that come because he did the work. And I'm mentioning it because recently Bob was diagnosed with very bad eye problems, and it may be losing a lot of his vision and kind of could use help. And somebody recommended this possibility because Bob can benefit from the old videos that we still have by selling them, and the monies can go to help support him through this difficult time. So there's a website called rudymovie.org. And if you can go to rudymovie.org and buy the movie, first of all, you'll have the movie, which is amazing. There are other things of Rudy's there that you can buy, and the money will help Bob with the difficulties financially and otherwise of having to go through the loss of sight as we know it. So anything you can do to be helpful and reach out. And because I'm close to Bob and he lives here, I know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with everybody out there and all of your issues and needs, but feel free to communicate them if you want. If there's a place where a collective response is valuable or would be valuable, you should let me know, because I would like to help in whatever way I can facilitate the expression of shared compassion and whatever else we can share that help people through their experience. This is, you know, if you want to talk about the world collapsing, the idea of helping one another in that period is probably one of the most beautiful things we can do. So, you know, long talk here. I know it is long, and I'm saying a lot of different things, but however you want to organize, sing and dance in the cold and the, you know, bombs dropping or not dropping, I think probably one of the first things you can do is be thankful that they're not dropping where you are, and enjoy this life. Enjoy the incredible nature of this life that we have, because sitting around and despairing is what? It's giving into something that isn't. It's giving into your mind interpreting the reality, or your body interpreting the reality. Take a breath, rise above it if you can, open deeply, let it something deeper inform you, or call me. You know, come over. I can give hugs. If you can't get over here, do it on the phone, and just know that that you're all loved, that we're all in this together. This is not an easy ride, never was, but there are people singing and dancing, and we can be that too. Okay, long talk. Any questions from anybody that need to be answered? Yes.
Are you talking to me, Bruce? Yeah, that's
yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at Wendy.
That's okay. 2 questions. When is your birthday again?
March 10th.
So the Sunday after your birthday?
Yeah, yeah. It's a Sunday after. I'm not looking for gifts or anything, by the way, at all.
No, I was thinking about coming in, but so I wanted to know March 10th. Okay.
You don't even have to do that, to be honest. It's a day, but it's a, you know, I don't want a big party. I mean, I'm not self-celebrating. I mean, it may not sound like that when I talk like this, but I'm not trying to celebrate myself at all. But it's a transitional moment that I think is something. And that Sunday, it just felt like a day. If people want to, from the local tribes, want to come and just have cake, they can do it.
Understood. I was just curious because I was thinking of going to New York anyway, so it might have set that time. But the other question I have is around when you talked about afterward meeting yourself, like coming to realize it's you all along, but you know, maybe more of that connection to the permanent self rather than the impermanent self, and then having that recognition. And I was just wanted to ask you how you would relate that to kind of like the experience as a child, where I experienced like detachment, a sense of curiosity, a lot could be going on, but it wasn't an effect of everything. That recognition of you or me in that case, would you equate that at all to that experience of like a child, like that innocence?
Well, in a sense, yes, but that innocence is starting to get very curious about the world around it. It feels itself, it feels hugged by its parent, first of all, which, if they're lucky, and you start to take the security of that, whatever that security feels like, and then you begin to explore and find the wonder and the joy and the terror and all that other stuff of the world around you. And you know, it gets complicated, of course, but it's very addictive. It's very compelling. And ultimately, we get lost in it. And trying to find your way back to it, everybody has what I call an initiation, if you have one, and I think most people do, which wakes them up to this isn't all there is. This has source. This comes out of something. And then you start to look the 2 ways. You're looking at it manifesting, and you're looking at it creating. And as you do that, then there's something kind of remarkable, because the expansion is incredible. The deepening of you as you go into yourself is a touchstone that tells you there's something here. There's something amazing that was here before you. And if you have a moment of awakening or enlightenment, or even a complete awakening and enlightenment, then you know that the you part is really kind of just a construct. It's almost like a fiction. It's a thing that's going on, but you are not that thing. You are all of it, all at once. I am that is the statement that Nisargadatta gave. I am that, you know, or the power of now. I am in this. This now is it. This is it. You know, past and future are mind events, really, even though we feel they happened. or will happen. This is the reality. You are living, breathing it, and this is it. And it's all we really do know. But if you go deep inside, then you discover the now is deeper than you thought. And it's quieter than you thought, and it's more expansive, and it embraces you in ways that the outer transitional, transitory world doesn't. And that becomes very securing. It's very helpful. And if you have that, and if you start to learn, like through what Rudy taught, how to give that nowness to people, which means be present with them, give them what comes out of that place, which is mostly love, understanding, compassion, and empathy, power even, that's a great thing. And that's what teachers do. And you don't have to be a teacher certified to do that. And the easy way of doing it is just be a good person. That's all. Just be a good person. Boom. You'll take a lot. You'll do a lot for people. Does that help?
Thank you, Bruce. That was a great answer. Thank you.
Anybody else? We're ready to go get coffee, right? Okay. Thank you for coming. I am very grateful, Dale. I'm amazed you made it. Everybody have a great 2 weeks, and I will be back here in New York in 2 weeks. Okay, California, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss a class, but I see some of you signing on here anyway, which I'm fine with. So, you know, you can, if you want to sign on at 8 o'clock from California, it's a New York class, go for it. Love you all, and we'll see you soon.